Hi there. Today we're going to be looking at the reading section of a practice SAT, and we're going to be learning something called reverse outlining, which is one of my favorite tools that I was taught by an amazing professor that I still use today to understand how to read and write great essays. So we're going to be using this to answer the question, what is the main purpose of an excerpt from David Owen's book, The Conundrum, How Scientific Innovation, Increased Efficiency, and Good Intentions Can Make Our Energy and Climate Problems Worse. Now, the first thing to understand as we enter this process is to know that all writing is a journey. It has a beginning and it has an end. The main purpose is typically said in the very first paragraph of any piece of writing, especially essays or chapters. And typically in an essay, it's going to be the very last sentence of the introductory paragraph, which is here, which would be called the thesis statement or the author's main claim that their essay is going to be about. This is important because the thing is, even essays have their own structure, right? But so do paragraphs as well. And the introductory paragraph has its own organization. It typically starts with a hook. That's the first line that opens you as the reader to whatever this essay is about in an interesting way that makes you want to read more. The introduction of a problem, that's why the essay is being written. Details about this problem and to start to discuss the ultimate solution, ending on some kind of statement about how we can solve this problem in some kind of new way. Now, let's look at this, let's just jump right in David Owen's piece. His first sentence is really interesting. Essentially, it has a hook, it has a problem, and it has details all in the same sentence. He starts like this. Building good transit isn't a bad idea, but it can actually backfire if the new trains and buses merely clear space on highway lanes for those who would prefer to drive, a group that historically has included almost everyone with access to a car. Like I said, it starts with a hook, something surprising that good transit can actually backfire, and the fact that it can backfire because there's a problem when there's more empty space on highway lanes. This is because, and this is explaining the problem more, most people who have access to a car want to drive. He then goes on to discuss details about a potential solution. So, to have any kind of environmental value, new transit has to replace and eliminate driving. And just to summarize, he's essentially saying that increased public transportation has to be backed up by policies which cause driving to decrease, such as the elimination of traffic lanes or the conversion of existing roadways into bike or bus lanes, ideally in combination with higher fuel taxes, parking fees, and tolls. Needless to say, those ideas are not popular. But, and this is where we get to his solution here, or his main claim, they're necessary because you can't make people drive less in the long run by taking steps that make driving more pleasant, economical, and productive. Said in the positive, people will drive less if you make the conditions of driving unpleasant. Now let's look at the actual question the way it's written on the SAT. And let's see if any of the answers here are similar to this concluding statement. A and B, if you'll notice, are basically saying the same thing, which is that increasing public transportation doesn't necessarily improve the environment or reduce traffic. These are true statements which are discussed inside the first paragraph, but notice neither of them talk about driving being unpleasant. C talks about something called car-focused development and suburban sprawl, neither of which are even discussed in this paragraph. So C, it's not the right answer. And D, that the main purpose of this passage is to argue that one way to reduce the negative environmental effects of traffic is to make driving less agreeable. D is the most similar, and it is our correct answer. I hope you learned something today, and I hope you go on to do a lot of reverse outlining.